Silicon Valley, technology, art, green, and sustainability.
Welcome to another episode of Silicon Valley Tech, Art, Green, and Sustainability, SVTAGS. I'm honored today to have a gentleman with me that I just met a week or two ago, and you were doing a presentation in Saratoga, which was just fascinating. I wish we could have all the slides and all the information. Nicholas Carter, Dr. Nicholas Carter, PhD, and you just have a fascinating background, and it's NPC Solar is the name of your company?
That's my company, yes.
Yeah, and you have a couple companies, so we may get time to talk about the other thing later.
Okay.
Please tell everybody a little bit about yourself, your background, if you like, where you're from, and whatever you'd like to share.
Well, thank you first for the opportunity to appear on the show, Heather. I really appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate you being here.
We only just met, but I appreciate that opportunity. I don't know how far you want to go back. I guess my wife and I moved to the US in 1997 permanently. We'd both lived here on and off.
It just seems like yesterday, doesn't it?
I have to say yes, it does. And that kind of coincided with the first round, or the first major round of electric vehicles being available, certainly in California. We moved at that time to San Diego, so we were in Southern California. And we started to get involved in the whole scene regarding electric vehicles. I'd been involved with environmental things for years and been aware of some of the issues. But that was the first time where we really felt like we were at the center of a movement that was just beginning.
And so what were you doing when you were in Southern California? What kind of business?
I'd been mostly in software.
In software.
So my PhD, and a software engineer. So my PhD work was in pattern recognition and image processing, interdepartmental between physics and music. So that was kind of pertinent to your.
That's really
your
interesting.
tag.
That's kind of an interesting combination.
Mix, right, but once I moved to the US, I was still involved with software for a few years, but then had the chance to move into solar, basically full time.
And where are you from originally?
The south of England.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, are you from South Africa or England or?
So yeah, south of England.
I guess I'm not familiar that much with the accent, but it's a great accent.
Thank you.
Anytime you want to do a voiceover for us, it's wonderful. So that's your background, and you kind of switched gears. Tell me how you got into what you're doing now.
Well, I'd wanted to get into solar as more of a career rather than just an interest or a hobby.
As a
or
career,
background.
and how did
as a
you?
career.
Yeah.
And I was looking for an opportunity. So I knew something of the technical aspects. I knew how things were supposed to work, the kind of physics behind it, and knew that it was a great thing. It was an awesome thing that we should be growing. But if you'd put me next to a work truck and said, install 20 panels on this house, I would have been a bit lost and searching through the tools and figuring out. So I actually met a small company owner at a show and tell for electric vehicles. And he was looking for help. He'd showed up with his business cards and his flyers at this event to recruit people. And I said, well, I'm interested in helping. And it turned into a wonderful opportunity that I got to experience all aspects of solar, from design through install, going out in the field, dealing with building inspectors, troubleshooting, you name it, marketing, sales. Got a kind of apprenticeship, really, in the whole industry. And I think it's a bit more difficult now to find that kind of opportunity, given that the industry's grown so much. But it was certainly a wonderful opportunity for me, and that's how I made the transition into solar as a career.
And what company was that?
That was North Bay Solar Electric.
Okay.
So I owe John Takis at North Bay Solar.
And they're still around?
He's still around,
okay.
Yes. He's done a huge number of solar, micro hydro, some wind, all in North Bay, so North San Francisco Bay, Sonoma County mostly.
So we're gonna pull up the first slide, and we're gonna go way back. I don't know which year this was that this was actually filmed, but Who Killed the Electrical Car? You were part of this, and what magazine is this on the left?
On the left is the DVD cover.
And that's you with the hat in the center.
That's
and
me.
you're holding up a
I
photo
admit it, yes.
of your own car. We could pull that down. And I was so impressed with the story. And you kind of had a photo of your first electrical car and your next one. Tell us a little bit about this. Tell us how you got involved with this and what happened. Tell us a little bit if you want, or lie. You can tell us all if you want.
I refer to that as it's not quite a walk-on part, it's a standstill role in the movie. They'd already taken our car away. And so you'll see, if you look in that picture, my picture of the EV that we'd been driving has a black border around it. So it had already died, in effect, and been taken away. The still is taken from an event that we held where 2 other drivers were having to return their cars to a dealership in San Francisco. And so we made a ceremony of it. They draped the cars with the stars and stripes. They had a kind of military procession where they folded the flag carefully. They had somebody from a veterans movement there.
Wow.
They had the bugler playing the taps. It was all quite a moving event, and it was captured by Chris Payne in his movie Who Killed the Electric Car.
And again, what car was it?
I was driving at that time, my wife and I were driving a Think City, and that was made by a Norwegian company that Ford bought actually in order to comply with the California regulations at the time. And then, I don't want to spoil the movie for the people who haven't, I would recommend it. It tells the story perfectly, I know, because we lived through every aspect of that.
So someone knocked on your door, basically, or
so
no?
I was making the payments on the car, I should add.
So it wasn't like a...
It wasn't quite a repo. Well, it wasn't a repo, not in that sense anyway. They weren't, nearly all the EVs that were available at that time weren't available for sale. They weren't available for sale, and if they were leased, they weren't leased to purchase. They were leased basically until the car company decided to take the car away, and then you start getting the calls, which is what we went through. And at one stage I had to stop answering the telephone because I knew it was the people saying, we want our car back, we have to have the car back.
And there was really nothing wrong with the car?
No, everybody loved the cars. That was the sad thing. If you watch the movie, there are people in tears, people got arrested trying to stop it happening. It was just such a travesty, really, because we had a solution to many of our major problems right there and then, and it would be so much better now if we'd gone with it and run with it and developed it and had the 3rd or 4th generation, just like your laptop or something. If somebody came to you and said, well, you obviously like that laptop, but we're going to have to take it away.
It's kind of slow right now. It's like 2009, so please take it.
But back in 2009, if they'd come and said, well, you've had it for 6 months or a year, and obviously you like it, but we're going to take it away. You'd be like this.
Yeah, no, wait, let me download everything first.
Before, yeah. We'd gone through all the things they describe in the movie of trying to get an EV1 from GM, and they would put barrier after barrier in front of you to say, well, you need a certain credit score. So you go away and you'd establish your credit, you come back and say, I've established my credit score. And they say, oh yeah, well, your credit's good, but you don't own your own home. So then you go away and you buy your own house, and you come back again, you say, well, my credit's good, and I own my own home, so now I can install a charger. And they'd put another barrier in front of you. And
this is like 2004,
this
2003?
Is early 2000, 2001, that kind of time frame. And eventually, there was no barrier, but there were no cars. They'd come back to you, and eventually they'd just have to admit, well, you've jumped all the hurdles, but we still can't give you a car. You say, well, what, are you selling it? Are you trying to make this product available? And it was very much Alice in Wonderland, kind of very strange, where I'd never come across a company that made a product that was wonderful, that had people who loved it, that were using it, and wanted to take it away, and most of them were destroyed. So that was just a very strange
thing. The photo that you had of the cars somewhere in the Mojave.
That's shown in the movie.
Mojave
out
Desert.
In Arizona, right? Yeah. They were taken out to the GM Proving Grounds and just
and squished. That really impressed me. And again, I need to rent the movie and see it. So
highly encouraged everybody. And now there's a sequel, so you can.
I think we may have to have an SVTAGS viewing of it, and maybe you coming and talking about it at the Capitol Club or something. They have this huge big screen. Awesome. So moving on though to question number 3, I love that we're just chatting about this stuff. But tell us about your company. So plugins, solar, what is it you do? Tell us what your company is about.
So NPC Solar, my company, is involved in a mix of different activities. I have clients mostly in California, but I have one major client who's actually on the East Coast and doing a lot of commercial solar now. So I've been helping them. They were originally property developers, and they wanted to establish a solar division. So I helped them to get going in solar, basically, and now they're doing 50, 100, and hopefully a 250 kilowatt job coming up shortly.
Nice.
So they've hired full-time people for their solar work. So they've established their solar division, and now they're just growing it and going from strength to strength. So I've been involved with that. I do some kind of troubleshooting with people's systems locally, business development with different companies. And then just recently I established PVEV.net, which is more of an advocacy site for both the things we're talking about. PVEV.net.
Yeah. So BVEV.net. And what does that stand for?
So it's PV as in photovoltaics for the solar, and then EV for electric vehicles, although it's more to do with plug-in vehicles in general. So it includes plug-in hybrids and pure electric vehicles. And then I guess somebody got to the .com first, so I ended up with .net. But I feel it's a kind of network thing, so I think in a way that's appropriate.
Maybe a .org too?
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I'm trying to make it a business that does have a viable financial model behind it. So it's advocacy, but it's also a referral mechanism. So if you want to put in solar, or hopefully you want to do solar and get a plug-in vehicle, we can point you in the right direction. We have a number of partners in California, one in Hawaii, one in New York, so we can refer you to them. And we get a small referral fee as a result of that. And then I'm also building a network of car salespeople who specialize in either the Nissan Leaf or the plug-in Prius or RAV4 EV or the Volt. There's a whole variety of cars now. So we can make that transition from just using utility power and driving a gas-powered vehicle over to having the fueling station on your roof, producing clean power and driving a plug-in vehicle.
Okay, and say that again, because I think that's such an important connection for people. So having the fueling station
on your roof
and being able to plug in,
right,
and not use any other energy source.
Right.